taking receipts on all the people who continually mock and say that we ain't going to do anything. I'm taking receipts.
What's up, Jets fans? It's Christian from the Jets Report, and today I'm joined with my co-host James for the 9th episode of the Taking Receipts podcast. The Jets just came off a tough loss off Buffalo and are currently on a 2-game win streak in the thick of a playoff hunt. So this upcoming game against the Lions is absolutely crucial for them. So, that's going to be the topic of conversation today. James, what are your thoughts on the game? What are your keys to the game? And, what are your feelings on it?
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where earlier in the year we penciled it in as a win and a game that we could just roll over this Detroit Lions team. But I think in the weeks prior and as we got closer to this game, that couldn't be um, that couldn't be further from the truth. I think this is a gritty Lions team. It's a Lions team that is very talented on offense. Has quite a few playmakers on defense that are playing hungry. They're playing really good football right now. And like you said, coming off these two straight losses, this is a pivotal game in the season, in terms of making a playoff run. This could be it. If you walk away 7-7 from this game, unfortunately, the playoff hopes start to dwindle. And so it's important for this Jets team to get out early. I made a point to say last week that they had to get ahead early against Buffalo, or else it was going to be tough to come from behind on them, and that proved to be true. We played them tight for the first couple quarters, and then we let up that touchdown towards the end of the first half, went down 7-0, and that felt like much more than a 7-point deficit because of the way our offense was performing. So it's important for it just to set the tone early. I know it's possible, and it's looking like we're going to be without Quentin Williams, which is a big time loss for our defense. And I know we'll get into that more a little bit later, but it's time for guys to step up. It's time for this offense to start producing early and often. And I think if we do that, we have a good shot, especially, I know Jared Goff is playing some of the best football of his career right now, but I'm a little hesitant to say that that's going to continue against this Jets defense that we have in cold weather, because I know historically he's not very good in that weather. So I'm looking forward to it. Each week we say the game gets bigger, and again, this is the biggest game of the year right here. This could be it, or this could help us dramatically if we could, win Sunday, and hopefully we get a little bit of help from our friends up in Buffalo with a win over Miami. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said in the beginning of your statement. We've all penciled this game in as a win, and now the Lions are currently sitting at 6-7. They started the season 2-6. They've gone 4-1 in their last 6 games. I mean, they're a legit team. They have a great offense. I know I've never been a huge fan of Dan Campbell. I know the media loves him, but I mean, you got to respect the guy. He calls gutsy plays. He does his job as a coach. He's got these guys playing great football. He's a good motivator, and they're a force to be reckoned with. And they're trying to make a playoff push of their own. I know they got to make up ground in the NFC, but I mean they're no slight. They're not out. And like you said, Jared Goff is playing really good football. They got great weapons on that offense: Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got a pretty solid rushing attack and an awesome offensive line. So their offense is definitely no joke. But to start off talking about this game, I want to talk about the Jets offense and how they match up against this defense. This defense is weak. They're not a great defense, especially against the pass. They let up a ton of points. I mean, you look at all their pass scores. These games are getting consistently in the 30s to 40s, what type of points they're letting up. So this should be a day where Mike White and the offense needs to have a bounce back. Like you said, Buffalo, the offense struggled. Obviously, playing in Buffalo against that defense in the cold, rainy, almost snow weather obviously isn't easy. When you have so many injuries, especially on the offensive line, it obviously isn't easy. But, this is a bounce back game, must win at home against a weak defense who's not used to playing in the cold. So we have to take advantage of this. I need Mike LaFleur to have a big bounce back game. Didn't really have too many red zone opportunities against Buffalo, so can't really say if he improved or didn't improve comparing to that Vikings game. But this is a huge test for him and Mike White. I trust Mike White to go out there, like always, and, take what the defense gives him, occasionally take the shot down the field, but I don't want him throwing 45 to 50 times a game. I get it when we're down and we're in desperation time. It's kind of what we have to do, but I think Mike LaFleur abandons the run a little too quickly, so I really need to see him running the ball hammer bam night. I know Mike Carter fumbled last week, but give him a bounce back week. that duo right there, mixed with some Ty Johnson on third downs, really should make a difference this game. And as long as we set the tone, control the ball, and make Jared Goff throw the ball in the cold late in the game, I think we should be set up for a win and a crucial win moving forward. But what are your thoughts on this offense matching up against the defense?
Yeah, I think this is one of those games that's going to be won in the trenches, right? I think last week our offensive line got bullied by the Bills' defensive line, well, a Von Millerless Bills' defensive line. So that was a little discouraging, but I'm expecting a bounce back game out of that group this week. I don't know much about the Lions' defensive line. I know they got Aiden Hutchinson, who's playing the best football of his young career so far, and so he always poses a threat coming off the edge. But it's going to be about protecting Mike White and keeping him healthy, because I know he's going to come into this game a little banged up, but he's gonna play and he's gonna give it his all, just 'cause that's the type of teammate he is. But yeah, they got to protect him, man. Last week it was hard to watch at some points, but I gotta give credit to Mike White. He was standing in there and he was delivering some passes. I mean, even Tony Romo was saying, a guy who played, a ton in the NFL and experienced a ton of rib injuries and knows what it's like. As soon as he went down, he was like, man, like he ain't coming back today. And just a couple plays later, he came back on 3rd and 10, delivered a strike to Garrett Wilson from the opposite hash. And so, that was just really encouraging to see. But and even with the poor protection, I thought Mike played really well. I think he was 27 for 44 for 245 yards or something. So I think if we can give him just some time to throw this week, yeah, I think he'll have no problem producing. And like you said, in terms of running the ball, Bam Knight has been awesome these past 2 or 3 weeks. There's no way around it. I think like you said, we got to feed him. We got to get him going, because and he's really been a spark plug these past couple of weeks. I remember in the Vikings game in the fourth quarter, we were down 12 and with like 8 minutes left, when he needed some offensive production to get going, and he broke off a nice 45-yard run. And this past week, we were held scoreless at halftime, and he came out on that first drive in the second half, had a couple big runs and his first career touchdown. So like LaFleur and Saleh have been saying this past week, he's kind of provided that juice and that energy that this offense has desperately needed ever since Breece Hall went down. And so I'd like to see, him get a lot of touches this week. And yeah, Michael Carter, I don't know where he's at, with his head right now. I know he was upset over that fumble last week. He said he was just trying to make a play. And I think that fumble is completely unlike the player Mike Carter is. And so, yeah, I'd like to get him more involved this week too. I'd like to get those guys a combined 25 to 30 carries if we can. But like you said, it's tough to do that when you're playing from behind, and we've done that these past 2 weeks. And so, ideally, this game looks a lot like the Chicago game. But this Lions team is a lot better than that Bears team was. So, I'm excited for this matchup. These are two teams, in my opinion, that match up really well. I think that the Lions have a high-powered offense. We have a high-powered defense. I'd say our weakness is on offense and their weakness is on defense. So I think this is matched up to be a good one. I mean, who would have thought Jets Lions week 14 or 15, whatever it is, in the middle of December with playoff implications at MetLife. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I just want to touch on it one more time. I've not lost any faith in Michael Carter. He means so much to this locker room and team. One play does not define him. And I still have trust and faith in him that we could go to him in a key situation and he could get the job done. But moving over to the other side of the ball, like you mentioned, it's really going to be iron versus iron. Iron sharpens iron. Great defense in the Jets, great offense in the Lions. I mean, just touch on this Lions offense. I know I mentioned it before. They put up so many points. Jared Goff really plays. He's playing so well within the system. He's taking shots. He's staying in the pocket. He's got great footwork, great mechanics. He's really spreading the ball around to everyone. It's awesome to see. And it's just so special. I mean, they even had that trick play where Penei Sewell gained like 7 or 8 yards on 3rd down to get the first. I mean, they're just having fun out there. It's a fun team to watch. And honestly, a team I like to see do well on Sundays when they're not playing the Jets. Obviously, I just think they're a fun team to root for. But how can this defense have success against the Lions? They have an awesome offensive line. So with Quinnen's health up in the air, honestly, I don't know if he plays. At this point, we're recording Thursday night, and he's missed both Wednesday and Thursday's practice. So Friday's practice is going to judge a lot whether he plays or not and whether he gives it a go. And you also have to keep in mind that we do have the Thursday night game 4 days following. So maybe that affects the decision whether Q plays or not as well. But assuming we don't have Quinnen, it's going to be tough in the trenches, and we really do have to win. I know we pride ourselves on having that 10-man defensive line rotation, and that's really going to have to show. I haven't been a big fan of him all season. I know you're pretty similar with me. Solomon Thomas is going to have to step up. I know he's a solid rotational guy, but he needs to make plays. Shepard needs to make plays. Guys like that, Clemens, and then guys rotating off the edge like Jermaine Johnson, Huff, JFM, they all need to make plays because their offensive line is awesome. Obviously, they're a little bit better at the tackle position than they are in the center and guard area, but they are really going to have to play well. And before I finish, I just want to let you know, make a statement about it. Michael Carter II needs to have a big game. I've trusted him all season. He's personally my favorite player in the Jets just because how undervalued he is playing the slot with guys like Sauce and Reed on the outside. And he gets a lot of attention, but their best receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, plays in the slot. And Michael Carter's coming off the worst game of his season and maybe even the worst game of his career. So we really need a big bounce back game from Mike. And I trust him, but he's really going to have to come through big if we want to slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown, who means so much to Goff in the offense.
Yeah, just to touch on Michael Carter II real quick. I'm going to cut him some slack because of how good he's been. Really, ever since he stepped into the league as a 5th-round pick out of Duke, he stepped into that nickel corner role and hasn't looked back. He's turned into one of the best nickel corners in the league. I think it's a little unfair to him only because it seemed like last week the Bills were motioning Stephon Diggs into the slot. It would seem like every single play, trying to create that matchup, right? They were moving him away from Sauce and Reed, and so it's hard going up against a receiver like Diggs, who's once one of the league every single play. So I'm going to cut him some slack. But like you said, he's going to have a similarly tough matchup this week with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been, one of the better younger receivers in the league these past 2 years. So, but I'm looking forward to his bounce back game. I trust his defensive staff to come up with a game plan that's going to suit him well and help him out. But in terms of the Lions offense, it's been so powerful because of the way they've been able to protect Jared Goff and give him time to throw. I think, we've learned that in this league, no matter who's playing quarterback, if they get time to throw, they're going to make plays happen, right? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you pressure them, no matter how good they are, they're going to struggle. And so that's where this game's going to be won or lost for us. And like you said, we have the 9, the 10 defensive linemen that dress up every game, and that depth is great. That's what makes our defensive line, such a threat, and it makes these guys well rested and able to put their put their best foot forward. But no matter how much depth you have, it's hard to replace a star player like Quinnen Williams. And so like you said, it's at this point it's looking pretty doubtful that he's going to play on Sunday. Maybe they're able to get him on the practice field tomorrow and get him a pregame workout on Sunday to see how he's feeling and make him a game time decision. But I'm always a pessimist when it comes to injuries, so I'm going to say he's out Sunday. But we do have a guy like Sheldon Rankins, who I think has flown under the radar this year. I think he's been one of our better players. I think there was a noticeable difference on our defensive line when he was out for those couple weeks. So I have faith in him to step in. And then another guy too, who I think doesn't get enough credit, is Nathan Shepard, for the role he's been given, that situational pass rusher on the interior. I think he's done a nice job. It will be interesting to see how he does when he steps into a, more of a starting role. But it's going to be tough going against this Lions offensive line without Q, and so that's why it's so important for our edge rushers to create some pressure. We're gonna have to turn to Carl Lawson, to Bryce Huff, to Jermaine Johnson, to Vinny Curry, John Franklin Myers. Those guys are gonna need to have good games against this line if we want to put pressure on Jared Goff and give this offense fits. So. It's going to be tough without Q, but I'm looking forward to seeing how our defensive staff goes about it. I won't be surprised if Tanzel Smart gets the nod. I know he was up when Sheldon Rankins was hurt, and he's really the only option on the practice squad now because Jonathan Marshall just got signed by the Steelers. So, we'll see what happens. Obviously I'm hoping Quinnen is good to go on Sunday, but it's looking doubtful at this point. So, next man up. We've been so good with that next man up mentality this year. It's just got to continue on that defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the take. I forgot to mention guys like Rankins, like you said, Shepard, and losing Jonathan Marshall off the practice squad definitely is tough. But I still feel like we're positioned to make up for some of Quinnen. But obviously, it's so hard to replace a guy who's has the double-digit sacks from the interior this early in the season. I mean, the type of season he has is irreplaceable. All Pro, Pro Bowl, all that type of stuff. But moving on to wrap this up, let's do a score prediction, bold prediction. So how you feeling? What do you think the score is going to be? And then any hot takes?
I'm feeling good about this one. I think season on the line, the guys are going to be hungry now that they're on the outside looking in terms of the playoffs. I feel like that's going to be some extra motivation for them. So I'll take the Jets 27, Lions 13. I'm really relying on the cold weather to get to Jared Goff. I know a lot of people are in on the Lions now, so hopefully we kind of shut that down and we make a statement, and then we can move on to Thursday night against the Jags. But it's surely not going to be easy. So give me Jets 27, Lions 13. I'll take a Garrett Wilson touchdown. And I'll take a defensive touchdown. I don't know in what form it'll come in or who gets it, but I'm gonna go Jets 27, Lions 13, Garrett Wilson touchdown, and a defensive touchdown.
Love that. Love that. I'm gonna go 31-20 Jets. Similar score line. I think we do score a little bit more and they score a little bit more, but I think we win pretty comfortably. I think that we win by the double digits, the 2 scores. And in terms of my bold prediction, I'm going with Garrett Wilson gets to 1,000 yards this week. I know he's about 862, I believe it is. So I think he hits the 1,000-yard mark. Obviously, he's going to need another one of those big games, but I think he's just that type of player. He's so special and so fun to watch. And I can't wait to see what he does this remaining season and his future as a Jet. I mean, he's becoming one of my favorite players in the team. It's so special to have a guy like him.
Yeah, I know we've mentioned in weeks past about getting Quinn into 10 sacks and Garrett to 1,000 yards because we haven't done that in ages, but we've hit one half of that. Now we always need Garrett to get those extra about 140 yards in
Yeah.
4 games, which I'm pretty confident he's gonna do. Hopefully he stays healthy, but
Yeah, I think
that's looking good for the stats
I
people.
know. Even in a tough game like Buffalo, he went out and had like 8 for 65. Like
Yeah,
he
I think it
finds a
was
way.
8 for 70 or 6 for 72, I think.
Yeah,
And now
like
that he's the first read, he gets the ball. He gets a ton of targets,
I
man.
know. It's awesome. It's awesome to see a young guy like him flourish in this offense and really show that 10th pick was worth it. But that about wraps up for this. Hopefully we get this win versus the Lions and proceed with our playoff push. And as always, go Jets.